let's finish off our example number 4 that we started in class time. And sometimes a good way to kind of go through a video example is to play the whole thing and then go back and look at the parts that you don't understand. So we got to the point where we finished our first derivative, and we said the second derivative is going to need to be expressed as the product rule, because our first derivative ended up being a product of two different functions. So if we talk about f equaling negative 20x, then that derivative is negative 20. And if we look at the g value as being 2 minus x squared to the 9th, then our derivative, some chain rule here, is 9, 2 minus x squared to the 8th times by the derivative of 2 minus x squared. So our g is going to take just a little bit more work. 9 times 2 minus x squared to the 8th times by derivative of 2 is 0, derivative of x squared is 2x. We've got a negative in there, so it's negative 2x. So g prime is negative 18x and 2 minus x squared to the 8th. So this information now goes into our product rule, and then we're going to simplify. Again, looking at the product rule, I think we're starting to realize when we use it, we end up having to have a lot of common factoring skills. So my second derivative, f prime, negative 20, g is 2 minus x squared to the 9th plus f, negative 20x. I'm going to erase that plus sign then. I just put it to a negative 20x times by g prime, negative 18x and 2 minus x squared to the 8th. And that's all in brackets here. I can multiply through or I can factor. I want us to factor. So let's look at the two expressions and figure out what is the same in both of them. And the reason it's factoring is you kind of have negative 20, 2 minus x squared to the 9th. You got a negative 20 and 2 minus x squared to the 8th. So let's factor out what we can. Second derivative, I want the negative 20 to come out. I want 2 minus x squared to the 8th to come out. And then I want to know what's left in the brackets. The negative 20 is gone. I have still a 2 minus x squared left to begin with. In the second set of information, the negative 20s come out, but both the x's are there, the two negative signs are there. So I have plus 18x squared, and the 2 minus x squared to the 8th has already factored out. So that's what I have inside my brackets. I'm just going to gather up like terms. So my second derivative, negative 20, 2 minus x squared to the 8th, and I have a negative x squared plus 18x squared, so I have 2 plus 17x squared in the brackets. Is that the right order? Sure, it can be. If people want to put the 17x squared plus 2, change the order there and put it before the 2 minus x squared to the 8th, you can, but that is done